What time does the show finish?
When it finishes. So
Okay.
we're live. So
Hey ho.
good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to healthierlife.tv. I'm your host. My name is Paul Bursey, and I'm speaking from Ingatestone in Essex in the United Kingdom. And this is the sports angle, which is part of healthierlife.tv. And today we have a guest, Randall Porter. And Randall's going to tell you a little bit about himself and the reason he's on here. I'll give you a clue. It's about migraines. So, Randall, over to you. If you'd like to do a little introduction yourself.
Indeed. Thanks for having me on your show, Paul. So myself, Randall Porter, as you know, I'm a former police officer. I left the police force last year and I've been coaching people in personal development for 2 years now. However, there is a caveat to that. I am a lifelong migraine sufferer. I've been living with the condition for 50 years, and I've used coaching techniques, mindfulness techniques, and further training in migraine therapy to really solve my migraine issues. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that with Paul today. We're talking all things migraines. I know this is essentially a sports show, and one of the things I will be touching upon is exercise-induced migraines. We'll talk a little bit about that later on.
Yeah, fantastic.
Back over to you, Paul.
Yeah, and just so the reason we know each other because we were both in the police force together. So I don't know where were we at Forest Gate together?
It was Forest Gate. I was a probationary PC, and I was posted to the old case progression unit, and you was the experienced DC on that unit. So that's how we met.
Yeah, so a lot of people feared me, but I was quite nice, really. But it's only because I drove. I made sure people did things the right way. But anyway, let's not digress anymore. Let's get on to talking about migraines. And I think the first thing I want to say to you is, what exactly is a migraine?
Okay, so migraine is a brain disease, basically. It's an illness that you're genetically predisposed to getting. It's something that you all inherit from either of your parents, either or. It's associated with headaches, but it's not just headaches, it's a whole lot more than that. So it's a very complicated illness. And one of the symptoms of migraine is that you'll get very painful headaches that last a long time.
Oh. So what's the difference between a headache and a migraine?
So your typical headache is just that. It's a headache that will come and go. You'll be in pain. Quite often they're muscular due to tensions and things. A migraine, however, is far more complicated. And typically a migraine can come in 4 different stages. So for instance, there's what we call the prodrome phase of migraines, where you'll be yawning, you'll be fatigued, you might get a very soreness and sensitivity around your neck and your head region. You'll then get, typically on a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people will get what we call an aura. And this can be flashing lights, zigzags, a reduced peripheral vision. That can happen in what we call the aura stage. And then you go into the business end of migraines, which is when you get very sick, you're in a lot of pain. Quite often this is associated with light sensitivity. So you'll quite often see people with migraines walking around with dark glasses on. That's a look that I've donned many times over the years. Also vomiting, standard for me. When I'll get a migraine, until I've vomited, that migraine's not shifting. So vomiting, quite literally emptying your stomach. So it's time and time again until there's nothing more to come out. Gory stuff, eh, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what happens during a migraine.
There's more. Jelly legs.
Sorry.
There's jelly legs. So you're in the migraine. You're in the pain phase. So this is like typically the 3rd phase. You've got jelly legs, trembling legs, so the shakes, cold sweats. Did I say light sensitivity?
Don't think so.
Yeah. So light sensitivity in this stage is very big. So for me, when I get a migraine attack and I'm at this phase, it's about going in the dark room, drawing the blackout curtains, sticking the sunglasses on, and just lying down. Pretty much when you're at that point, it's stop the world. It's not something you can work through. It's not just a headache. It's something you just have to stop the world and lie down. That's what it's all about. So there you go. Whistle stop tour of a migraine.
So it's a stop the world. I have to get off for a little while.
Indeed. And can I just say, you can try staying on, but it's at your peril.
Yeah, I can see that. So I just want to say a quick shout out. Hi, Rosie. She says she's looking forward to this. She suffers with migraines, and her dad plus 2 sisters suffer too. So
Rosie, I feel your pain, Rosie. I got my migraines from my mother, bless her, and 2 of my sons get migraines as well. So there you go. It's something that unfortunately runs in families.
Just a couple of things. If people see me using a tissue, I had a shave just before I came. And anyone who's watched these Facebook Lives know I shaved my head on one occasion and cut it, and it never stopped bleeding the whole, the whole episode. So if you see that, don't worry. It's only a little nick on my nose. I just pulled the blade away, and it's caught me. So I've been cut. And the other thing was, because we did a little run through of this yesterday, didn't we?
We did indeed.
And I brought up what happened to me. If I can tell just people very quickly, and then you can tell me what answer you gave me. Was that I was obviously a police car working night duty. There was an accident, and there was all blue flashing lights at this scene of this accident. And I came, only ever happened once, but I came all sort of faint and giddy and didn't feel brilliant. And literally had to go lay down in the back of the police car for half an hour, and cover myself up so I wasn't getting the flashing lights. Now, because I gave that to you, Randall, what did you say to me?
So let me think, what did I say about that? I think I was a little bit dubious that it was a migraine, only because from what you said to me, it only lasted for about 45 minutes.
When I say that, it did only happen for a little while. And what I meant was, after I laid down for that amount of time, half an hour or so, I was okay. I mean, I don't feel brilliant, but I was okay.
Yeah.
So,
Paul, may well have been a migraine.
Okay.
People suffer with migraine at very different levels. And it may well be that you've got 1 or 2 triggers, but in your lifestyle and in your life, you don't flick those switches, which is why you only have experienced that once. So it could have been a migraine, could have been something else.
Just another little thought that I came up that we didn't speak about yesterday was the fact that is there a link between migraines and vertigo? Have you ever heard that one?
Yeah, well, certainly if you get vertigo and you're a migraine sufferer, that's going to be a massive trigger. So it will be a trigger. There may well be a link because it's all to do with so vertigo, anything to do with the brain. I think vertigo is more to do with the middle ear, if I remember correctly. But there could well be a link. Certainly, in answer to your question, Paul, if you get vertigo as well, that will trigger a migraine.
Okay, all right. It's only what doctor said to me when I was in Mexico once. I had suffer from vertigo, but anyway, I seem to only get things once. Anyway, right.
You've got a wonderful gift there, Paul.
You've got to try everything once. Okay, so what can trigger a migraine?
Yeah, no, this is interesting. There's lots of things that can trigger migraines. Can be food triggers. It can be environmental triggers. I know a massive one for me. Probably my biggest trigger is heat. So on a hot day, I'm very vulnerable to getting migraines. Dehydration is another trigger. Alcohol, possibly because it's linked to dehydration, but also because alcohol will, some wines will have certain chemicals in that might trigger, because if it has a preservative in there that you're sensitive to, that could trigger a migraine. Overeating, undereating, skipping meals. Another one for me, a big one for me, is my body doesn't respond very well to when my glucose levels dip.
All right.
So when my glucose levels dip, I become very vulnerable to a migraine attack. So there's lots of things that can trigger migraines. To quote my doctor, because I once said to my wife, I'm the worst migraine sufferer that I've ever met. And to quote my doctor, he said, most people have a trigger. Unfortunately, with you, you tend to have most of the triggers. So that was my reality. Most of the things that were known triggers in migraine, I had. One big trigger for me, and this has been the bane of my life, being that I've always been into sport. I love sport. This is a sports show that you run.
Yeah.
And I love sport. I'm naturally gifted. Well, I'm an older man now. I'm 56. So I don't play sport, but in my youth,
trust me, Randall, you're young. All right? Trust me.
But long story short, in my youth, I played a lot of team sports. Unfortunately for me, one of my big triggers is sport, exercise-induced migraines. So that's one of my triggers as well. So there's ways I've had to adjust the way I train, the sort of sports that I participate in. I've had to make lifestyle adjustments. But there you go. There's a few triggers there. There's lots more. Some people, once you're in the vulnerable stage, when you've kind of reached your resilience threshold, a smell can start off a migraine. So if I can use an analogy, Paul, this water here, this glass of water, can you see that clearly? At that level there, those triggers aren't triggering off my migraine yet, because that's my resilience. It's when I start reaching up here. So when I'm up here, if this glass is full up here, that I've got very little resilience left. If I smell red wine or eat a raw onion, that can trigger a migraine.
Wow.
Because it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Sounds like
But invariably with migraine triggers, they're a perfect storm. They're a combination of things. Have you heard about chocolate? This is a common one. Chocolates trigger migraines.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
So I avoided chocolate for years and years and years. But the reality of it is, if I've got my resilience levels down, I can have a bar of chocolate. It's not going to trigger a migraine. So an example of when a bar of chocolate might trigger a migraine attack is this. I've not had my sleep. It's a hot day. I'm feeling fatigued anyway. I'm feeling stressed, another big trigger. So again, my thresholds have reached this point. I then have a bar of chocolate, dehydrated, and the sugar in the chocolate pushes me over the edge. It makes me even more dehydrated. And there you go. I've had the bar of chocolate. I have a migraine attack. Now, I might associate that attack with the chocolate, but the reality is it wasn't the chocolate. It was everything that's gone before that's created this perfect storm that's going to cause a migraine attack in me.
So a bit like the final straw.
Yeah, the final straw, the straw that breaks the camel's back.
So okay. So we know that virtually anything can trigger a migraine. So can a person be cured of migraine?
Well, this is the bad news. You can't be cured of migraine.
Okay.
Now, I'm just gonna say one thing about that. There are people that at some point in their life they suffer from migraines. They'll have no more, and they will say, "I'm cured of migraines." But the reality is they're not cured, but they no longer have the resilience threshold running at this point. They're down here, so they're a lot more resilient. And
so they're managing it.
Yeah, they're managing it. But because it's a genetical illness, something that you inherit from either or of your parents, you're never going to get rid of it. You're always going to have that predisposition. So you can't cure it. So that's the bad news. But Paul, there's very good news. You absolutely can manage it. And everybody has their own migraine DNA. So everybody's got a quality of life that they can live with migraine that they can reach that threshold. It's about finding your triggers. It's about knowledge and understanding. Migraine is 50% treatment, 50% your knowledge and your understanding of yourself. So no, it's a long-winded answer to your question, but no,
Yeah,
you
no,
can't.
no.
You can't
Yeah,
cure
I
it.
can.
Absolutely, and this is the good news: you can manage migraines.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds. It actually sounds very similar, but forgetting the brain part to type 2 diabetes.
And type 2 diabetes can be reversed with
Yeah.
dietary
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And very similar to migraines, you can reverse that. And I come to you from a position, Paul, where I was a 15 to 20 migraines a month man.
Yeah.
That was the point when I said to my wife, I'm the worst migraine sufferer that I've ever met. And I did say to my wife, if ever I learn to deal with this, I'll be dangerous. Because I've got so much enthusiasm. There's so much I want to do. I'm very goal driven. There's so many things I want to do, but the migraines just held me back. Held me
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
my career. There's
Yeah.
certain things I wanted to do with the police force, but it held me back because of the frequency of how often I was having the migraines.
Yeah. So okay, I'm going to invite people to give questions. Rose has put a couple of things down here. So one of the things she says is, so how do we self-help ourselves? Agreed. I thought I was over migraines, but it seemed to get 2 or 3 close together, then they disappear again.
Yeah. So one basic thing that I advise everyone I work with is you got to journal. The key is journaling. Take your health seriously. Migraines do not need to be your normal. What sort of quality of life is it when you're in pain, getting migraines all the time? So stop world, journal. And the thing with journaling, Paul, it sounds very basic, but when you journal, you start spotting trends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one of the things I'll say to my clients, first stop, you've had your migraine. What have you eaten over the last 2 hours? So we get that out of the way. We then start using our investigation skills that you and I picked up, Paul, when we were detectives with the Met Police. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
how much sleep did you have?
Yeah.
How restful was you when you woke up? How stressed are you? How's things going at work? Because migraines are very much a lifestyle illness. Yeah. Remember,
Yeah.
I was a 15 migraines a day man last year. I left the police, set up my own business, self-employed, working from home. Oh, surprise, surprise! I'm no longer getting 15 migraines a month. Obviously, there's a few more dots that I filled in between that. But so my answer to Rose would be start a journal, start spotting your trends, start knowing your triggers. Yeah. Start eradicating the common myths. Some people won't eat cheese because they've heard they've read somewhere cheese can trigger migraine, so they don't eat cheese.
Yeah.
It might not be a trigger for you, so test it out. And when you do journals, when you keep a food diary, you can start to stay on top of. It inspires you to eat more healthy anyway, because
Yeah.
you're logging everything. And if you're eating 5 Mars bars a week and you're writing it down, you notice it.
I don't eat Mars bars anymore. I eat double deckers.
Right, not exactly food of champions.
No,
So,
but I don't tell you everything else I eat, so that probably well eliminates everything. But
yeah.
yeah. What was the next question? Do certain foods such as cheese, bananas, and chocolate cause a migraine? Now I know that we've had a little bit of this with the chocolate,
Yeah.
but certain foods.
So the answer is in individuals, yes, not in everybody, not across the board. So Paul, you and I can be a migraine sufferer,
Mm-hmm.
and you could eat some cheese, and you could be absolutely fine. On the other hand, I eat some cheese. Remember what we said earlier? You've got your
Yeah.
resilience levels. I'm
Yeah.
already up here. And that could be the thing to push me over the edge, and it could trigger a migraine, which is why I do encourage my clients keep a food
Food.
diary,
Yeah. Yeah.
keep a journal. Let's
Makes
stop
it
this.
makes sense anyway. I mean, because
Yeah,
if you keep a food diary, you can deal with other things as well.
Yeah,
It's not just migraines. I mean, it sounds like
absolutely.
migraines are awful, but even little other things that come up, like being gluten free,
Yeah.
maybe.
You know
Um,
what, Paul? You know what, Paul? You've absolutely nailed it with that one. And I'll just say a little bit. We digress a little bit, but
mm,
remember, I said I was a 15 migraines a month man. I've
yeah,
now solved that problem. I don't get migraines. Well, I do get migraines, but when I get them, I know why.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
those random migraines from nowhere, they've stopped. But something that I have noticed through my own journaling is I'm now dealing with a stomach complaint,
Okay.
and I've noticed that a big trigger for me is bread,
Mm,
and that was only through journaling and actively going over, well, what have I eaten? And I
yeah,
spotted a trend. Whenever I would have bread, it would bring on the pains with the stomach problems. That's now
yeah.
something else I'm working through. So I now know bread is a problem. So I avoid eating bread. When I do eat bread, it's at a minimum level, or I'll go for gluten-free bread. I'm trying out gluten-free bread
Oh,
at
that is
the
so horrible.
moment.
It's like paper, isn't it? It just falls apart.
So
Uh,
is the stomach problem I've been dealing with. So
yeah, no,
I'll go with the lesser tasting gluten-free bread. I'll have that all day.
yeah. Rosie went on to say a couple of things. So self-analysis is the only way. I would say that you've got someone who can coach you in it. And how would you differ from a doctor? Would they? Because you specialise in it, don't you?
Yeah. So what doctors tend to do is they'll prescribe you medication.
Hmm.
That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
What I will do is I'll help you find your own solutions. When you go to visit your doctor, Paul, how long do you have with your doctor?
2 or 3 minutes,
The doctor's not going to
maybe
solve the
5.
world.
It
Exactly.
depends what it is.
The doctor's not going to solve the world.
No.
Not going to solve your migraine problems with that 5 minutes. When you invest in yourself, you become more knowledgeable. I even before I qualified as a migraine therapist, I already knew more about migraines than my doctor.
Yeah.
So the first point is educate yourself, become aware. The second point is work with somebody who's going to hold you accountable. And the
Mhm.
way I work with my clients is there's accountability, there's a high degree of mentoring because I've been there. I've
Mhm.
found my solutions. So I now help, I show you what I did and I help, it's not rocket science. And then I help you find your solutions. And then working with you for 2, 3, 4 months, before long, you're cooking on your own gas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You now have the knowledge, you now have the momentum. There's also one of the things that I do that a doctor won't do is mindset is really important. So I'll do a lot of work around mindset and thinking. I think I mentioned to you before, Paul, I run a Monday meditation group,
Hmm.
and that is very helpful. I think the game changer for me, the real game changer after coming out of the police, becoming self-employed, was when I practiced daily meditation.
Yeah.
When
Like
it
I do.
became when it became a part of my DNA, I
Hmm.
now meditate every day, and I've
Hmm.
been doing that since May, and that's been transformational. So in answer, was it Rosie who asked that question? Rosie, was it?
Yeah, and she also went on to say, uh, uh, yes, I think it's bad sleep and stress that's causing her problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Stress is a well-known trigger. Bad sleep as well. One of the reasons I changed my lifestyle and left the police. Now, bear in mind, I was a senior detective and I had good reasons to stay. I was comfortable in my skin. I knew my role, I knew my job. But I knew that if I stayed in that role, my migraines were going to keep reoccurring. And the reason I knew that was because every single night shift, without fail,
Mm.
would trigger a migraine. And that's all because of the break in the sleep pattern.
Hmm.
Migraine, I don't like saying migraine sufferers. I call them migrainers. Because when you say migraine sufferers, it sounds a bit like a victim mentality.
Yeah, yeah.
I try not to use the term migraine sufferers. I coach my clients into considering themselves as migraine overcomers. You're a migraine overcomer,
Yeah.
and it's a little tweak in your thinking, but it's powerful because the message moves from victim to no, I'm a champion. I'm overcoming. I've got this. I've got this. I'm
Yeah.
working through it, and that's the difference.
Absolutely, yeah. And I agree with that. I mean, mindset is the thing that affects everyone at some stage if you haven't got the right mindset.
Yeah,
Simple as.
yeah.
So let's we're on number 7. We're about halfway there.
Oh,
So
can I say one more thing
yes,
about
certainly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go on.
the meditation? And I
Yeah.
think this will be applicable to Rosie. The thing, remember, migraine is a neurological brain illness. The thing with meditation, it's all about neurology. It's all about calming down your central nervous system. It's all about giving your nervous system permission to switch off. So let's say you've not had let's say you're a breastfeeding mother, the baby's kept you up, you've not had your sleep. When you know how to meditate and the baby's gone off to sleep for half an hour, you could give yourself 20 minutes of meditation and you will recharge. So if you know how to meditate, this is a very powerful weapon against migraine. It's a weapon that helps you reduce your tolerance levels from up here to down here. So you might be up here because you've not had a good night's sleep. Baby Johnny's kept you up all night breastfeeding. You've meditated for 20 minutes, bang. So already your resilience now to getting a migraine has improved. Yeah. So I wanted to add that about meditation, Paul. It's very important. And I think for me, that was the major game changer. Apart from changing my career and changing my lifestyle, a big game changer was just meditating on a daily basis.
Sounds good to me. The next thing, because we say not time for time, but I just want to keep us moving along. Women are more likely, I believe.
Yeah, this is true. There's been a lot of research into this, Paul, and I think the ratio is about 3 to 1.
Yeah,
so
I'd imagine
for every 3 women, 1 male will have it. In fact, back in the dark ages of ignorance towards migraines, it was considered a female illness.
Yeah,
and men were frowned upon if they were
drunk.
Yeah, but we think it's linked to the menstrual cycle. Lots of women that suffer from migraines tend to. There's a pattern linked to the menstrual cycle, so I think that's why women tend to be more prone to migraines than men.
Right. There is a if there can be a funny side to it, not really, but I was just thinking, as it's 3 to 1, could it be something to do with women's brains and how they're wired? I know I'm going to get some flack over this, but you know the old picture, the pictures you see with the man, he just gets a little drawer out, deals with it, and puts it back, and the picture of the women's mind as they try and think is all over the place. It's like, so it's just. Although it's funny, it does sort of come to mind thinking that they're thinking of lots of things at once and it's all neurological and all over the place.
I think is a valid point, Paul. Women and men, their minds are wired differently. So as we know that, men tend to think more tunnel vision, focus on one thing at a time, to use a stereotype.
Yeah, but it's only because we can't do others.
Well, yeah, you're right. I think for me, multitasking, I always say multitasking for me is using a knife and a fork.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Whereas women, because the way women's minds are, they can think about a few things, a lot more going on. Whereas a man would be, there's still a lot going on, but it's going on, focusing on one thing. And there might be something in it. I don't know.
I know. I was just trying to keep it on the light side. But moving on a little bit. Painkillers. Are they a long-term solution?
Okay, I'm going to camp out here a little while, Paul. Absolutely not. Painkillers can be a part of the problem, because when you use painkillers on the long term, what you can start doing, the body starts manufacturing headaches. You can start dealing with addictions. You can start dealing with rebound headaches. Remember I said, Paul, I was a 15 migraines a month man not too long ago. Well, the reality of it is a large portion of those 15 headaches that turned into migraines that I got were actually rebound headaches from the overuse of over-the-counter medication, such as your paracetamol, such as your ibuprofens. I was using something called sulfadine, and I was using
Oh yeah, I know. I
sulfadine.
know. Yeah.
Paul, I was using that for 20 years.
Yeah. Ooh.
When you buy sulfadine, they say to you, don't use it for more than 3 days.
20 years. Maybe that's why you're mad. No, I'm really joking.
But the point is this, Paul, the long-term use of over-the-counter medications cause problems. And I think a large part of my being a chronic migraine sufferer was that I was just getting rebound headaches for using these painkillers for so long. They are a problem. I would say that if you, in fact, not just me saying this, this is across the board, that relevant professionals will tell you, you shouldn't be using painkillers more than twice a week. Twice a week is kind of okay. If you've got in the middle of a chronic condition, you need to use it for 3 or 4 days to get over that, then yes. But you should not be using painkillers more than twice a week. If you are, you're using them too often.
Yeah.
So and this is what I coach my clients on. Painkillers are a last resort, not a first resort. We can all too often fall into the trap. We've woken up, we've got to go to work, we've got a headache, we don't want to carry the headache to work because we want to function. The first thing we do is we reach for the painkillers and we take them. Short-term fix can be a quick fix, but absolutely it will lead to longer-term problems. So in the long term, Paul, no, we shouldn't be using painkillers. They're harmful and they will have side effects, harmful to your liver as well. And they can actually, you can end up with more headaches. So it's best to find alternatives.
I stuck to what my mum used to say. She said, have a cup of tea, have a bath, and everything will be all right. She weren't far wrong. I don't know about migraines, but no, that's I've always been the type of person. I said to you the other day, yesterday, that if I take six paracetamol tablets in a year, it's been a bad year.
Yeah.
You know, and
I've had days where I've taken 6, Paul. So
yeah, I know everyone's different. I mean, I just, you know, I was in sports and I just didn't want to put anything that I didn't really want in my body, you know. So apart from 3,000 pints of beer or something like that, but apart from that, but okay. So where are we? Is there a long-term treatment that you recommend?
Yeah, well, first I said earlier, lifestyle changes. Prevention is better than cure. So just by changing your lifestyle, you can be treating your condition. I alluded to earlier, but meditation is a long-term treatment because it's good for you. And here's the thing about meditation, Paul. Meditation is focused around breathing. Most of us, Paul, we breathe shallow. Now think about this for a minute. When you meditate and you focus on your breathing, you're breathing intentionally. So you're breathing longer. You're breathing deeper.
Yeah.
And you're controlling your breath.
Yeah.
So just the process, that process in itself, you're introducing into your body the most fundamental thing we need for life.
Yeah.
We can fast for a month and survive, no food. We can survive for a few days without water. You can't survive for more than a couple of minutes without breathing.
That's right. Yeah.
So by meditating and breathing, I've learned to control pain by just breathing intentionally, deep breaths, focused breathing, rather than reaching for those painkillers, breathing for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I've been able to offset pain from a headache or a stomach pain just through the process of breathing. Our minds are very powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Your mind can kill you.
The problem is, Paul, most of us don't know how to use our minds. And you can use your mind just by being focused, by learning, by educating, and by breathing as a long-term way to combat migraines and pain. Absolutely, breathing is a great option when coupled with meditation. Far more sustainable as well, and you enjoy it. I look
Yeah,
forward
absolutely.
to.
I mean, as you know, I meditate every day. But I would say to people, if you've never meditated before, just go on YouTube. There are 3-minute meditations, 5-minute
Yeah,
meditations, and you can go on to the half an hour and things like that if you want to. But if
yeah,
you just want a short one, you can go and there's plenty on there. So
absolutely. There's lots of stuff out there on YouTube. You don't have to be an expert.
no,
The man that got me on my road to meditation is a guy called Justin Caffrey. He's an Reliant mindset coach. And I went on a 21-day guided meditation journey in May. So it's not that, it's fairly recently, in May. Now, I had meditated before through Tai Chi and various other things that I do, but never focused and never as a habit. Meditation is now a habit. I do it on a daily basis and I'm reaping the benefits of that.
yeah.
So yeah, go on YouTube, guided meditation, Google it, and before you know it, you'll be plugged into some good meditation, and then
Well,
just find out what works for you.
yeah, it's funny with meditation for me. I mean, I didn't do it for many years, but as an athlete, right from the age 12, deep breathing was very important to me. So it actually worked well, which what I was used to doing, but I'd never done the meditation side. So it was quite easy for me, As you say, though, most people do breathe shallow.
When did you start on your meditation?
Probably about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So yeah. So and I loved it. And I won't be without it. I actually miss it if I don't do it. So it's very rare.
On my YouTube channel, I think I've uploaded 6 guided meditations on there. So if anyone wants to find me on YouTube, there's 6 on there. Just have a look and
Yeah,
try
what
it
we'll
out.
do, I'll tell you what we'll do, Randall. We'll in the show notes or when I do put the all the videos out, I'll put in links and we'll go through that and give all links to different things and how they can get
That'd
in
be great.
contact with you and all that. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do that. So right, what we got next? Got a few things left. Do herbal treatments help alleviate migraines?
Okay, herbal treatments can. I mean, fever-view is something that's been around for years that people have been using. You've got to be a bit careful with fever-view though, because there can be some side effects, and also it can clash with meditation that you might be using already. So what I say to my clients is, if you are going to use any herbal remedies, do consult with your GP first, just to check that what you're taking doesn't clash with anything what you're already on.
Yeah.
Ginger is a herb. It's a herbaceous root, and very good for an alternative to painkillers. It's anti-inflammatory. Okay, so inflammations cause pain, which can develop into a migraine. So drinking strong brewed ginger can be very helpful. Now, when I say use ginger, I don't mean your ginger tea bag, ginger and lemon tea, and have that.
The thing that looks like an enlarged peanut.
I mean root. Get the root ginger,
Yeah. Yeah.
grate it, and boil it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Have it strong. Your
Ginger's
ginger and
good.
lemon tea bag is going to have minimum effect. However, your fresh grated and 5-minute boiled ginger from the root, taken as a drink, can be very effective.
Yeah.
So that and as a long-term sustainable treatment as well, it can help. So yeah, herbs can help, but just with the caveat: be careful about what herbs you're using, and does it clash with anything you're already taking?
Yeah. Go for the real thing, as you say.
Yeah, the real thing. There's no
Yeah,
substitute for the
absolutely.
real thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Um,
everything else, Paul, can be a false economy.
okay, is there a link between migraines and mental health?
Yeah, this question comes up quite a lot. Now, so I'll be careful how I answer this, because somebody once said to me, migraine is a mental health illness. Well, no, it's not. It's a neurological illness. However, what can happen, especially with chronic migraine sufferers, is that you 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 can struggle with anxiety. When is the next attack going to come? So you're anxious, and then the frequent migraine attacks can leave you feeling depressed. And remember, I said earlier, there's 4 phases to migraines.
Mm-hmm.
And the final phase, they call it migraine hangover or post-drone phase. In that phase, you can sometimes get quite depressed. Whether it's to do with chemicals, we know chemicals are involved. Serotonins are a big suspect of having involvement in migraines. But there may be some chemical reason that you can be prone to anxiety and depression. So there is a link. And people that have migraines, especially chronic sufferers, if you're just getting the odd occasional migraine, it's not going to affect you. But if you're a chronic sufferer, then you can be more susceptible to anxiety and depression. It can happen. And certainly that was my experience, Paul. I found
Yeah, yeah,
myself when I was going through my chronic phase of migraines that, yes, it did affect my self-esteem. It affected my confidence, and it did make me more anxious. So it can have an effect, absolutely.
yeah. I can see that. And so, junk food, does that play a part in making migraine worse?
Well, again, that's a bit of a double-edged sword. Obviously, if you're on a healthy diet, feeding yourself proper nutrition, and you're eating at regular intervals,
Yeah,
that's going to be far more beneficial than binging out on Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's. So junk foods can be a contributing factor simply by virtue of the fact that you're not increasing your resilience through good
yeah.
nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
The caveat is this: someone like me who glucose, blood sugar levels is a key indicator, a key precipitator of migraines. If I fall below a certain level, I become very vulnerable. A cheeky burger and chips can get me out of trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So I wouldn't totally discount junk food, and sometimes it's necessary. The odd McDonald's to get you out of trouble, go for it. I'd rather you eat a burger and chips and not have the migraine
yeah.
than skip the burger and chips because you want to eat healthy, but your blood sugar levels have dropped and bang, you're off and you've got 6, 8 hours of pain or longer.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, it's like anything. It's you can always have a little bit of what you like, as they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, doing things a few times is not going to cause you any problems.
And as I
So
said, not cause you any problems and could get you out of trouble
yeah.
if you're in trouble. So go for it. Have the burger, have the chips, keep out of trouble.
So you said, is it true that is it true that exercise can cause a migraine? And I think we covered that a little bit earlier. Is there anything else we need to say about that?
No, only just as a reassurance, really. If you
Yeah,
find that you are exercising and you're getting migraines, you're not weird. It doesn't mean you've got a significant heart problem or something like that. It could just be that exercise happens to be one of your triggers.
mm-hmm.
And one of the things that research has revealed is that the migrainer is more sensitive to changes in cardio output. So it may be linked to the raised cardio output that can bring on the pains of a migraine. And likewise, I know for me, I could do sport very effectively without a problem. It was when I was coming down from the sport that the migraine issue started to kick in. So the blood pressure raising wasn't an issue, but for some
Yeah.
reason, when the blood pressure started to drop back down, I started to experience problems.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't with the light. I couldn't see the screens anymore. Comments, but so we got one last thing to talk about. How do you help migrainers? In your work or in your what you do.
Yeah, so typically, Paul, I'll work with an individual for a set period of time. Could be 6 weeks, could be 2, 3, 4 months. It depends on the individual, and I've covered a lot of it already. There'll be I'll get them adopting good habits, a series of good habits. I'll get them journaling. I'll get them figuring out their migraine DNA. What are my triggers? Let's dispel the myths and let's be informed through journaling and spotting trends. What are my triggers? So we'll get that going. I'll also do
Yeah.
work around some mindset work, and I touched upon it earlier. For instance, there's no more talk of I suffer migraines. No, you don't. You're a migraine overcomer.
Yeah.
So we'll do some mindset work. Then there's the meditation, the guided meditations, the breathing exercises, and then there's the education around alternative therapies.
Yeah.
I've got a whole arsenal of things that I use to control pain before I reach out for the over-the-counter medications. I've got one of
Yeah.
them here, actually. I'll show it to you, Paul.
Go on in.
So something that I use, and this is just one of the items in my arsenal, is this. It's a electronic acupuncture pen.
All right. Okay.
And quite simply, what I'll do with this is I will put it on, I'll put it to whatever intensity, and I'll put it on one of my pathways that the acupuncture would use.
Yeah.
As simple as that. And it sends a pulse through, it starts unblocking the blocked areas, and it can be effective. So that's just one thing. So that's how I work with people, through education. Then there's the accountability about, okay, so let's have a look at exactly what you're eating.
Yeah.
Let's keep a food journal. And the other thing I'll say is using my detective skills from when we were investigators, rather than detecting crime, we're now detecting, okay, what are your triggers? So we're using all those detection skills to just figure out what lifestyle adjustments you have to make. So that's how I work with people. It's all about working alongside with people, helping you find your solutions, because my solutions aren't necessarily your solutions. I'll show you what I've done and how I've managed my condition, but it's up to you to chew the meat and spit out the bones, figure out
Yeah.
what works for you.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So, just one last thing here from Rosie. Can having a large number of migraines cause scarring of the brain, leading to more chance of strokes? I read that somewhere and it has concerned me.
Yeah, there's been research about this. I'm not sure about the scarring of the brain, but there is research around, is there a link to migraines and strokes? And the reality is we don't know. It's something that's being looked at. And there's various journals and papers on the subject, but we're still figuring it out. But there certainly is believed to be a link between migraines and strokes. But that's not to say that you need to worry. If you are a migraine sufferer, it does not mean that you're going to have a stroke. In fact, it's just you're no more likely to have a stroke than somebody that doesn't have migraines. But it's a difficult one because there's a lot of research on it, and we're still figuring it out.
Yeah. Okay. So we've just coming off from 50 minutes, which is probably our longest Facebook Live, but I think I knew it was going to be a long one today.
It's a big subject, Paul.
Oh yeah, I know, and we will do we will come back and talk about this.
I was going to say there's 6 million people in the UK alone that suffer from migraines, and the estimation is that it costs the NHS £150 million a year. So it's a very big subject.
Yeah, I bet it is. So, well, thanks very much for all that information, Randall. And obviously, as I said, we'll have you back on here. And if I get loads of questions or something new comes up, or we can do it as a refresher, and so that'll be good to look forward to in the future. So, as I say, thanks very much. And in the show notes, if you're interested, I'll show all the links to Randall's social media and other things like that. So it probably take me about 24 hours to get on there. So anything else you want to say, Randall, before we wrap it up?
No, thanks for having me. I've actually enjoyed it, Paul. You've been good company today, so do have me over again, as they say.
Yeah, and yeah. I've got a thing here. Thank you for answering all my questions. And that's from Rosie. It's been very interesting and informative. So thank you, Rosie.
Thank you, Rosie. Thanks for me.
Okay, and yeah, let's stay on the line. I'm going to come off and end this broadcast, but please, if you've enjoyed this or found it informative, as Rosie did, please share this with anyone you think it may be useful for. Please like the page, like this, or love this video itself, and try and promote it for us. Try and, and we're always looking for more people to come on when we're on live. We know that most people look at the recording rather than come on live, and that's because of what people are doing during the day, which is great either way. So this goes out on a podcast as well. So have you got a website? As we're on a podcast, have you got a website that you want to name on here at all, Randall?
RandallPorter.com.
And that's with one L, isn't it, Randall?
One L.
One L.
Do you know why it's one L, Paul?
No, probably because it's a name, first name.
Because I'm one hell of a bloke.
Oh, dear. Okay, I think we better end there. Right, okay. Thanks very much, Randall. As I say, we'll stay on the line, and then we'll have a quick chat, and see you later, everybody else. Have a great weekend coming up in a few days.